This situation seems like it's about as good as it could be without Deebo having been signed yet.
I think the NFL deserves some credit for getting to this point because the players now benefit from this. Like Deebo benefits from being forced to show up because ultimately Deebo is not, even if he could, the old rules hold out, he's eventually going to play football. And I felt like consistently when guys held out, they always came in and pulled a hamstring or had a shitty start to the season. And that still might be the case, but like DK is an example. Obviously, Deebo, I mean, they're represented by the same guys. They got to be around. They got to stay in shape. They got to be locked in with the team. They're going to all the meetings. I think this is a win for everyone involved. Win for the coaches, win for the organizations, win for the fans, takes a little anxiety off, win for the player that just forced him to be around. He doesn't have to give up any money or fake be mad in another state. I think this is a pretty seamless transition that we all benefit from that are involved in the league. Player first, because he's going to get paid, just like TJ Watt got paid last year. He's not the first hold-in. There'll be more hold-ins next year. I like the hold-in a lot more than the holdout. Now, you could argue from a drama standpoint, maybe, I mean, the Revis thing feels like that's when holdouts peaked. When he went
Rocco's Chicken? Where did he meet with Tannenbaum?
Yes, Chicken and Waffles or something like that. But that was, wouldn't you say, most of our youth and definitely through college, like that was not abnormal. There were a couple of those guys every year, right? Like, is this guy going to show? And he just wouldn't show till like September 1st. Here comes Strahan through the gates. Here comes so-and-so. And the guys would show up. I just think this is just so much from a football standpoint and a success standpoint. I think we all benefit from this situation.
Because the guys that are holding out and make news are the best players. And it's just always better to have your best players on the field.
Brunskill's never holding out,
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like the story of if Deebo were not showing up, that'd be a big story. We'd be talking about it. But it's actually better if Deebo Samuel is on the team and just playing in the games healthily, right? Not because he showed up a week ahead of practice. Although I did hear Greg Papa say told Lund today, that Deebo looked a little bigger to him than when he reported last year in the best shape of his life.
I noticed it too. But this is also a guy like him specifically. Every player now, right, if they come to the offseason, has that stretch of 40 give or take days where they're training on their own. It is not the same. And I think we know, I wouldn't say Deebo's Jerry Rice when it comes to working out. He literally, as a wide receiver, came fat before. That's unheard of. Like, say what you want, like DK. Is he going to show up or not? No one's like, I wonder if DK got fat. I wonder if Devontae put on a few pounds. That's literally how we talk about Deebo Samuel. If you look at the top, like 30 wide receivers, not one of them, the word fat, chubby, out of shape will come up. Maybe like, are they focused? Are they locked in? Do they like their quarterback? No one's like, I wonder if Keenan Allen put on a few extra pounds. Like, that's how we talk about it. And it's fair because it happened before. And I agreed with Greg. Like, I saw a picture of him just running down the sideline. I'm like, he's naturally, I would say, a little bulkier, but it's something you think about. Now, this is where if I'm the Niners, like, I don't want him, if this is going to stretch out till week 1, I wouldn't want to give him 40 plus 70 days on his own. I got him, and he's forced to show up, but I'm glad he's forced to show up.
Well, you'd also want to know on July 26th, not August 15th, that he needs to drop 7 pounds.
Well, I saw Leonard Fournette is already 245. Dropped 15 pounds.
Good for him.
You just get him in the heat, you get him running.
Julio show up in shape?
Yeah, but see, Julio's a guy that, like, it's just health. Does anyone ever go like, I wonder if Julio got chubby?
Yeah. And age, really. I mean, he's just not the same player.
He's just old.
He's been, peak physical.
You just want to get a guy like, you just want to be around them. So, like, they are your assets. They are your viability as a franchise, your top players. Like Treylon Burks, I saw, like, they feel pretty good about his asthma or whatever. Like, he's acclimating well. But then I see some players, like some rookie at a hot camp was like, didn't make it through the first half. He had heat exhaustion. Some guys just, you never know.
4 hours of cardio per week. Are they going to put that in Deebo's contract, you think?
Independent lifting.
Independent
salads.
They've got like a independent salads. one meal replacement. Then, but you know what happens when you try to go salad? You just eat the salad and then you just eat something else afterwards because you're still hungry and it defeats the purpose.
Yeah, the key to eating is eating slow and let your
Big key.
stomach
Chew. If you can chew 20 times, put your fork down, think, just listen to your body. Wait 5 minutes before you get seconds. Maybe your stomach will tell your brain by then, no, we're actually good. We're full. One thing Shanahan said, I think he said it on the first day, not Wednesday, was that him and Deebo have a very good understanding. They're on the same page as to how they're going to use Deebo. I don't expect a ton to change, right? You're part of what you're paying for the premium is to get the best version of Deebo. And part of the best version of Deebo is sometimes we hand him the football.
Well, he's not Marvin Harrison guy.
So and I think that's probably what Kyle is telling him. It's like, hey man, do you want to win? Do you want to be a great player? If you want to be a great player and you want to win, this is how you do. This is what the money is for. The money is for all the stuff you do.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to just become extra valuable and then do less of one of the things that makes you really valuable once you get the money. So I don't think,
Kyle, if he hadn't switched to running back the second half of the season, basically, and just had a normal season, the Niners missed the playoffs, the amount of money we'd be talking about with Deebo, we'd be laughing comparing him to
be less money.
Way less money. The Niners would say, we're not paying you yet. That's what they'd say.
And Kyle might be like, hey, man, didn't you like being one of the best players in the NFL last year?
Wouldn't you say he was like a phenomenon last year? Like just with human beings? The way it
wasn't Ohtani, but it was bigger because it was football.
He was way bigger than Ohtani last year. I think Deebo was like non-quarterback. Would you say Deebo last year, non-quarterback, second half of the season, top 5 famous player in the NFL? What he was doing? It was unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because every quarter, but yes. Yeah,
I would say non-quarterback.
Oh, non-quarterback. Easily.
Because part of it, too, is his name, right? It's like one name everyone knows is a Deebo.
His franchise, right? If he was playing for another team, it might be less interesting.
You think as many people would have noticed him on the Raiders?
Raiders, maybe, John. They played a good number of primetime games last year, just like the Niners did.
That's true.
Number 1 ticket sellers in the world. Don't let anybody tell you different. By world, I mean America. But
true.
Feels like a matter of time. And it's not like he's going to get 10 snaps in the preseason. You're not ramping him up for week 1 of the preseason.
Well, Rap Sheet, I was watching, watching would be strong. I saw on my Twitter timeline this morning, him and Garofolo were live from Eagles training camp. And Howie less fidgety at his press conference, just lies through his teeth and doesn't even flinch. It's comes
less fidgety than John Lynch or less fidgety than he used
less
to be?
fidgety, like very, very at home, just saying whatever he wants to say and not worried about the repercussions. Well, then Rap Sheet, they were like out front of the NovaCare Center and they were talking to Mike Yam. I mean, all running inside training camp.
Yammer.
A lot of eyeballs on Yam now. And they were just going through different situations of different players. And they got to Jimmy Garoppolo and then they got to Deebo. Basically, like, is Deebo's contract tied to Jimmy Garoppolo's release or trade? And Rap Sheet thought it was not. That it's not one then the other. It might just be as simple as, I think it's fair to say that the Niners, I wouldn't say Kyler was, ridiculous, but it's not abnormal in contracts for player shape, weight clauses, workout bonuses to bring you in the offseason. Like that stuff is much more normal NFL protocol. We're going back and forth. We'll give you an extra bonus for the offseason, but we'd like you, if you're going to come only the 1 week and skip the other 8 weeks, can we make it where we can get you 3 out of the 8 weeks? Or, there's got to be some give and take, which I understand we're paying you a premium. Like, I bet Howie Roseman would say, yeah, we expect A.J. Brown to be around some in the offseason.
And is it part of that, like with Deebo, would be not so much that it's just you want to see him to get your eyes on his progress?
But part of it is like, yeah, maybe he'd say, well, no one else shows up. I'm like, well, yeah, Trent's on a different program.
Well, like Nick sends us videos. He looks like he's doing good.
Yeah, no one ever complains. Like Bosa. I saw Bosa walk through. He looks the exact same as he's looked the moment they drafted him. He just looks jacked. Trent doesn't even like the lift, and he's the strongest guy in the league. They're give and takes with everything, right? Kyler, you don't like to study? Well, it'd be one thing if you had won 7 playoff games so far, but you haven't. Trent Williams doesn't like to lift. He's been an all-pro like 8 times. Bosa doesn't like to come to camp. No one's ever argued since the guy was like 10 that he's not all in football, ready to roll. Deebo, part of our pushback is like, you've left us times to question some stuff, right? Being in shape, injury prevention with a body type like yours. Part of it is just in fairness to him, his body type is a lot different. I was saying that the other wide receivers in the league, the top 20 guys, no one battles being fat. He doesn't look like any of those guys, right? Like you go to Cooper Kupp, Keenan out, you just go through all the guys. Most of them are longer and linear. And even the shorter ones, like Ayuk would be on the shorter side of a top receiver. He has a wide receiver body, right? Or a corner body. The wide receiver and the corner body, I tend to say kind of looks similar, right?
Well, at your 20-year reunion of your NFL team, most likely to be skinny, your receivers, right?
And potentially corners.
Corners.
You know who bloats? Running backs.
Short, not general, like
stockier
stocky to begin with.
Yeah.